Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you saw the previous video from before, I talked about what the channel's about, the updates on the channel, and one thing I touched upon was those chosen by God, and I would like to talk about that again, specifically like the behind the scenes and the idea of me making it and what my goals and idea was for it at the time and how it came to be, stuff that was cut, just talk about it, but not too much in depth because, like I said, once I complete it all, I like to do a synopsis and talk about every single thing and every single detail from beginning to end. I can't really do that because there's, obviously part 2. I'm trying to avoid spoilers just altogether, so I'm just going to talk about the behind the scenes and small things that isn't really a spoiler for the future of Those Chosen by God, but just some things that are in part 1. I'll also be wanting to talk about something that I want to be talking about for a while now, and that is RPG Maker, specifically RPG Maker MV. So let's get on with it. Just like in the previous video, I talked about like how I got into game making, and basically when I was a kid, I always enjoyed storytelling and the art of storytelling. And specifically, it was video games that really touched me more than like the media and TV shows and books. Like or even art or poetry, but my favorite stories always came from video games. So I always had this idea of a video game that I would make ever since I was a little kid. Fast forward to the future where I'm working all the time and I don't even know what it was. Like, I guess I was just getting like depressed, and I was like, well, what was something that I always wanted to do? And I remember it came to me was to make a video game, and that's where it kind of all started. So there I am, like trying to figure out how to make this story that I have in my mind come to life through a video game. And I start looking at like the free programs. Specifically, I start looking at like Unity and just a bunch. Like, you just go to Google and type in like free video game software, and a bunch of it would just pop up. And I think I started with like the 3D stuff, and I could not for the life of me grasp that. Like I even now, like, it's still really hard. I would like to dabble and make 3D games, and I would really love to do that, but I really just don't have the time hardly to like learn the new software, and just, like I said, just with life and everything, I'm always busy. So that's when I found out about RPG Maker. They said it's really easy if you try to make an RPG game, and that's what I'm specifically was trying to go for, even though I'd rather it be like a 3D RPG, kind of looking like Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy, or the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy specifically. That's how I found RPG Maker MV, because that was like the newest one at the moment, and it's been out for a while, and there's tons of plugins. And that's one thing that I really like to say about RPG Maker MV is like the community is great. Like, even if you have a problem with something with the software or with a plugin, you can always just Google it, and like someone's got that same problem and they try to help out fix it. And it can be as simple as like switching a plugin next below another plugin, or just anything like that in general. But like RPG Maker MV is I can't highly recommend it enough. Like, it is just like, I'm not getting paid to say this, I'm not trying to promote it in any way, but like if anyone's listening to this and they want to start into game making, definitely get with RPG Maker. So now that leads us to Those Chosen by God. I'm going to lead away from the RPG Maker for a bit, while still praising RPG Maker. But the thing about Those Chosen by God, and also the reason why I liked RPG Maker, even though a lot of people are very against this, and I kind of see why, because everyone just slaps them together and makes anything with it, and that's why it has like a bad reputation, and that is with like the base assets with the RPG Maker game. If you're someone like me and you can't draw worth nothing, like, this will help you out a lot, because it already has its own art. It's already, you already got the license to it, so you don't gotta worry about all that legal stuff that comes along with it. And a lot of you could be like, oh, why don't you just get an artist? Well, me personally, I tried to do that, and they were just requesting like way too much money. And when I was about to purchase some, they was seeing that what I was going to do with it, because I was going to try to like, specifically, without giving too much information away, I was going to buy like a scenery painting of someone and use that scenery for the scenery in the game. The person that I was going to do that with, one, wanted a lot of money, but when I was going to give them some money, I kind of like shoot them down a little bit, and they was going to agree. They saw what kind of game I was making. They didn't want their art to be with the game that I was making or something like that. So that kind of just failed altogether. And now going to like a dream or a vision of mine, like I would still like to find someone, but like I said, like I'm just living on paycheck to paycheck basically, and like it's really hard for me to afford some sort of like artist in a way, because I know they want money, and they're trying to get their stuff promoted, and like no one wants to do stuff for free. I mean, I understand that 100%, but it's just, for me personally, just, like I said, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, scraping by, and it's hard for me to go out and like would afford something like that. However, if there was a way that I can get like, just specifically like with the theme with Those Chosen by God and the art style that I'm looking for, like a dream or a goal, it'd kind of be like Orange, who made Fear and Hunger. I don't know if anyone remembers that from a while back. Like, that art style would be amazing. But now to another segue. And the same thing applies with RPG Maker for like art, battle, animation, or just like the music or anything, because it all comes with this stuff that, like I said, I tried to dabble into animation, didn't really work. It's going well, but it's nothing great. And the same for music. Like, I'm trying to make my own music. I'm trying to buy the equipment, but once again, that requires a lot of money. I'm not trying to go bankrupt here. And with all that, that's why I praise RPG Maker MV so much. So now I can really just focus on the story that I want to tell. Now, talking about stories, I know I'm not the best writer. I know that. And this goes to another thing I'm going to touch on, is like a proofreader. And this is specifically, I really don't want to even talk about this, but I'm going to, just because for people who's played Those Chosen by God Part 1 or watched the playthrough of it, when you see Part 2, specifically Auden, his name, I know in the game it says Aiden, but his real name was Auden, and the proofreader that I was hiring at the time, I did give him some money, and I kind of feel suckered. They didn't even proofread anything. They were so obsessed about Auden. They're like, that's in it because it's A-H-D-E-N instead of A-D-E-N. And they were so obsessed with that, very obsessed with that, and I'm not trying to badmouth the person, and like I said, I'm not going to leave any information or nothing like that or tell who the person was. They were so obsessed with that's the only thing they changed. Got all the script together, and I sent it, and again, they were just so obsessed with that. That was the only thing they changed. Like, they told me that was stupid, that's not right, that doesn't make any sense, that's dumb, but like that, not to spoil anything, but that name of his name specifically comes up later to why his name is in like the future, so like I'm not really going to say anything about that. Like I said, and I'm trying to bash the person that I was hiring at the time either. I mean, they did get some money out of me. I kind of regret that, because like they didn't do anything at all. Now, going back to my stories though, like a lot of my stories, a lot of people don't understand, and most of the time I don't really tell you right out the bat. Like, the story that I tell you is kind of like the first layer, but you gotta really find beyond that to understand what I'm really trying to tell. And once again, when I talk about Those Chosen God fully, from the beginning to end, I'm going to talk about every little bit of detail, every little thing that I try to throw in there, and then maybe you'll notice. And now some things I want to touch on behind the scenes about the cuts that I made in Those Chosen by God. Now, originally I cut them because, again, the game itself is like 4 hours long. It would have been a lot longer if I didn't cut these things, and I mainly just did that so I could go ahead and get the game out there. Because like I said, I worked on this game for a long time. Granted, most of it was because I'm trying to learn the software. Now, one cuts where there's specifically going to be 2 battles, maybe 3, before the time skip. When Ray, and again, from now on, I'm going to call him Auden, and that's the main reason I wanted to touch on in this video, because like from now on, I'm just going to go back to his original name. And the reason why I didn't go back and change it, because I was so far into the game making that like, and I was so close to the date that I wanted to release it on, I was just like pressured, and I was like, fine, I'm just going to throw it out there like that. But that's one thing I really, really regret, and that's the reason I want to talk about on this video, because from now on, it's going back to Auden. That's his actual name, his original name, and when I redo all of it, I'm going to, even the part 1, I'm going to change that all up. That is the one thing that I'm really upset about, and that was like the biggest mistake I think I ever did. Like, I should have just went with my gut, ignored the person, but like, I don't know, it was already typed out. Like, they even like proofread anything. They just went to his name and changed it all. And like I said, I don't want to touch too much on that. But anyways, there's going to be 3 battles with Auden, Ray, and Mila before the time skip. And it was going to talk more about their bonding and how they slowly become who they are and everything else too. The time skip, I kind of touch on it a little bit, but like just a little bit. And there was also going to be a festival where the king was going to throw them one, and they can spend more time and like bond more for friendship. But that's one thing about games that I like, is when you feel really close to the cast. That's one thing I'm trying to get to as well. But I couldn't do too much because of the time crunching. And another thing was Leon. There's going to be a little battle with him and Ray. I was going to throw in there, but I never got to do that. And the final things that were cut on was a lot about Auden's past, specifically with Olin. There's like going to be, like, I'm going to touch upon them on part 2, but like there's a lot more stuff with his past that I was going to touch on that I never really got. Well, not really too much, just specifically like how Olin ran the plays and the hunts and the other children that I mentioned in the game, but you don't really see. Which also comes down, if you didn't see the last video, to why I'm making it into a web series, so I can work more on it. Like I said, I'm trying to do better on art, but I'm kind of stressing about that, but I'm not going to really stress too much, because I said the main thing I'm trying to do right now, at least get this story out and done, and then maybe in the future acquire a team, or if like or just not even like that, but like even like on smaller projects that I do, if anyone wants to help or participate or voice act in or anything, just shoot me a message or whatever, and we can like try to work something out. And plus, like with the web series, I won't feel too rushed or time crunched or anything. And plus, that would also help me with my channel as I'm releasing stuff. And like I said, that's the main thing I want to get out. Specifically, like if there's any fans or anyone who played the first one or seen the part through that like really loved it, and it's like, hey, where's part? Because I mean, there's stuff that I'm really fans of, and I'm like, I really want the story to end, to see how it ends. And in case that's someone like you out there, it's coming. Like and like I'm gonna better on it, so I don't have to like worry about the things that I worry about in part 1. But yeah, like this video's gone long enough. For those, like I said in the last video, I don't know if you catch it or not, but like for those who are watching this now, if you came to my channel through like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and the other stuff, I'm still doing that too, don't worry about it. But like I said, the main thing I'm trying to do with this channel is get the Doge Judgment God story done. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it, and have yourself a good one.